Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're going to chat a little bit about how to use data analytics for cybersecurity audits and software licensing. So a little background on the company, a little over 1,700 customers worldwide. You can see here some large and small organizations around the world. Many have been with us for many years, over 10 years, and a lot of countries. We have a bunch of US and worldwide patents. Some are quite interesting. You can find most on Google Patents and in all their gory detail, and founded in 1977. The issues, topics that we address at Belarc are software asset management, and license management is a subset of that, configuration management, IT asset management, which of course includes hardware management also, and cybersecurity. So this was an interesting quote from a Gartner analyst at the last Gartner ITAM show in Louisville, I believe it was. It came out, I'd never seen something like this. 75% of all SAM projects are both over budget and don't meet their basic objectives. Their stated goals or objectives for funding the project. So basically they're failures. And I thought it was rather amazing. We certainly don't have that statistic with our customers. So I'll tell you a little bit about why we think some of the reasons for that are. You know, today SAM and ITAM are really a patchwork quilt of all kinds of products and lots of consultants, manual time and effort. We won't go into great detail here because we only want to do a couple of slides and then get right into the analytics part of it. But you can see here, this is a typical scenario for most SAM projects and ITAM projects. You've got lots of existing data sources from different companies that all then have to be normalized and consolidated and then entered into the software licensing reports. So lots of effort, lots of time and energy. Companies typically spend years trying to get this done, if ever, and obviously 75% don't manage to do this. Belarc is a little bit different. Same kind of flow chart, but you can see that no consultants are needed, and typically no additional manpower either. So discovery, normalization, software licensing, that's all done within Belarc's product. And of course, also the purchase records get entered either automatically through the new ISO standards or manually. A little bit about the architecture. If you're not familiar with, basically Belarc runs on a web-based architecture, typically runs inside the company's intranet, totally inside the network. We also offer a SaaS solution where the server is run on AWS, Amazon Web Services. But basically you install the server software on a Bell managed server. It takes about 20 minutes. Then you roll out the client to the desktops, tablets, laptops, servers, and virtual machines. And that's basically it. The agent is dormant most of the day. It by default wakes up at 4 a.m. local time, runs a very short scan, about 10-15 seconds, and creates a tiny file, 40 kilobyte file, less than a web page, certainly less than most web pages today, and sends that file back to your Bell managed server. Server creates entries in the database and creates web-based reports that can be accessed by people that have rights. The analytics module is a very powerful business intelligence tool. We OEM it from QlikView, and that basically takes all of the Bell managed data and can add additional information such as purchase records, HR data, and create very interesting analytical reports that we'll see shortly. So these are the kinds of information that are available in Belarc's data analytics. Obviously, for SAM capabilities, you need purchase records or entitlements, and then you also need automatic license reports. And those reports are based on Microsoft desktop products and also Microsoft server products. Oracle database products and middleware, IBM middleware products, and various cloud and other desktop products. And also, very important are various CAD and GIS software that tends to be quite expensive, and you need to be able to manage that in a reasonable fashion, in an automated fashion, I should say. On to another topic that Belarc is involved in. We thought this was very interesting. Kurt Dukes was at the time, he was the director of the Information Assurance Directorate at the NSA. That's been since submerged, and Kurt is now at the Center for Internet Security, but this was last year, and he said this quote, and he was saying only since he'd been there for 2 years, but he said all the U.S. federal government breaches over the last 2 years that he was responsible for IAD were caused by known security vulnerabilities. And we know that this was an ongoing, this has not just been 2 years. So what this tells you is that there's no magic involved in most security breaches. It's just simple. Try to do proactive, preventative care, cyber hygiene, if you will. So one of the ways, the best ways to do that, we think, are following some standardized security controls. The one we heavily recommend, and a lot of people we know in the security business highly recommend, are the Center for Internet Security, the CIS. NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, also has a set of security controls, but they're less prescriptive or less clear-cut, if you will, but also very applicable. So either one. The CIS has what they've spelled out in particular. They have a 20 top 20 controls. Of that, they have a top 5 that they say if you follow these top 5, you will reduce the risk of a breach by 85%. If you follow all 20, you can up that to about 94%. So very, very big numbers. And the top 5 are really what Belarc focuses on. So inventory of authorized hardware devices, inventory of authorized and unauthorized software, secure configurations, and continuously vulnerability assessments, and controlled use of admin privileges. So those are their current top 5 controls. And these are the sorts of things that Belarc discovers on the security side. And we'll go into some of these in more detail on the demo of the data analytics. There are also configuration management capabilities showing out of compliance software. And of course, Belarc also has an automatic change history capability, which shows you all the software and hardware adds and removes over time. A list of some of our current customers. As you see, so a lot of U.S. federal government, some state and local government too, in the Texas Department of Transportation and Oakland County, Michigan. So we will go right to the analytics module. And let's do an example. So this looks obviously very, lots of tabs up here, lots of data. This can be a little intimidating at first, but let's take a simple example. So I want to take an example of a breach has happened. And the breach is we think it's an Adobe critical hotfix, and we want to find out which machine might have caused that breach. So what we're looking at here are all the Bell Managed data in one single place. And all these tabs are different parts of that Bell Managed data. As you can see here, this is the Systems tab. So this basically lists all of the computers, users, and information about the system. We can expand on this. But everything here is linked. So if we go to hotfixes needed, say, for example, and we pick on the hotfixes needed, let's pick Adobe as for our example. And we want to pick on the severity column, let's just pick the critical hotfixes for Adobe. So by doing these simple selections here, and always down here below are your current selections. So this is the way a BI tool works. Basically, you can do point and click and start selecting things, but everything is related. So now all of the systems that if we click on the Systems tab, these systems are also currently all the systems that have Adobe critical vulnerabilities. Okay, so if we want to say, let's take a look to see what users might have been involved in this. Let's go to the Users tab. This is login users. So these are all of the users that have logged into those machines that have those Adobe critical vulnerabilities. And if we go to the fields here, let's take a look to see the users that last logged in a few days ago. So let's go here, click users, and we'll click all the users that last logged in 40 days ago or less. Okay, so all of a sudden now we've got all the users that have logged in 40 days ago or less, and we really limited this down to 600. Say we have a sense that maybe this vulnerability came in through a USB usage. So let's take a look to see which users actually used a USB storage device on these same machines. So these are all the USB storage devices that have been used on the machines. Here, the current selections. So these are Adobe critical vulnerabilities, and the users have last logged in more recently, say 40 days or less. So all of a sudden, bingo, here, these are all of the vulnerabilities, all of the USB usage. And say we want to say we can pick last used days ago. We can pick, say, this one was last used 22 days ago. So bingo, this is the first candidate. We can immediately narrow down, this might be the computer and the user that brought in that vulnerability. So to give you a little bit of idea, it's just one simple example, but it gives you the power that all of a sudden having all this data in a analytics tool will give you. So now we'll go to a little more graphical stuff. So let's take a look here. So I've pre-selected a couple of these graphical elements here, but again, let's go through the list quickly. These are computers types. So these are notebooks, these are servers, these are workstations out of the whole population. These are physical machines, virtual machines. These are the actual manufacturers. So we've got Dell, Gigabyte, and HP, IBM, et cetera, in this. These are the vulnerabilities on those machines. So these are critical, end of life, et cetera. These are the disk encryption status, so most of them do not have disk encryption. And these are the machines that have the most severe vulnerabilities on those machines. There are other data elements that we could show you too, but I thought this is probably enough to start with. But everything here, again, is linked. So if we want to say, geez, let's take a look at the machines that do not have disk encryption. So I can just click here. And all of a sudden, these are now the subset of machines that do not have disk encryption. But let's find the ones that have no disk encryption and also have critical vulnerabilities. So bingo, all of a sudden, these are the machines that have disk encryption, critical vulnerabilities. And let's pick on Dell's, and all of a sudden, these are the Dell models that have this. So lots of interaction here with the dashboard too. On the license reconciliation, this is switching over to software licensing. You can very quickly see this is a Microsoft Server product. So this is purchased versus installed. So if you're on the left side of the line, you have over-purchased, basically. And if you're on the right side of the line, you've under-purchased here. And so you can very quickly see this. If you want to click through to details, of course, this is based on more detailed data. So this is actually the purchase versus install, the actual specific data here. So we see here, this is a product. So for this Microsoft Exchange Server Standard Edition 2007, we've calculated that it's installed on 15 servers. The license is purchased 1. The licenses required are 15, and you're under purchased here. Let me go actually to the details for that particular product. So if we go to Microsoft Server Instances report, So this basically gives you the details of all for each particular server that has a Microsoft Server product installed on it. So you can see here, this is a physical machine. We can see here, this is a physical host. This H means host. This is a physical machine hosting these two virtual machines that are directly beneath it. And since for server products, you license the physical machine, but it's based on obviously what's running on those virtuals. So these licenses are automatically calculated. You can see details of that too. I can show that to you at a later date. But you can see here, these are automatically calculated based on, these are core licenses, these are server licenses, and this core license was calculated. Here I can show, I can show the calculations here. So basically, let me scroll over. So this 8 was calculated. So these are based on core factors that come from Microsoft, based on the CPUs, based on the CPUs that are on that machine, and based on the cores, basically. And so that's where this 8 was calculated. So you can see additional detail here. We also do similar things for, let's take a look at Oracle products. So Oracle instances here. So these examples are basically Oracle databases. You can see right here 2 instances of Oracle databases. The databases are, again, the physical hosting this virtual. The databases are licensable when they're installed. You see here a whole series of options, and so this is the advanced security option, for example, and management packs. Those are only licensable when they're actually used. So that's why you see this column here, server requires licenses. No, this data is all, just as in Microsoft, this is all automatically discovered. So this is not manually entered at all. This is all automatically discovered by Belarc on a daily basis and uploaded to your Bell Managed server and into the data analytics module that we're looking at here. So data analytics automatically calculates all your license position every day. So you can see here, this is based on the core factors from Oracle, the number of core CPUs, and the license count is here. And of course, then we want to compare that to your purchase records. So we have a report that does exactly that. So purchase versus installed. So this basically is all of the Oracle products that you have, and it compares it to your purchase records. Your purchase records can either sit in the Bell Managed repository, or it can be pulled from outside, even SAP, PeopleSoft, or even Excel spreadsheets if you like. But there is a repository in Bell Managed too that you can enter purchase records. So basically, you can see this is updated again every day, so you can see your effective license position on a daily basis. So if someone spins up a new virtual machine with Oracle on it, and lo and behold, you find it's part of a cluster, and all of a sudden overnight you may owe $800,000, you can automatically see, you know, what happened. So this is very, very important from a licensing point of view. Very often the DBAs don't exactly know the licensing rules and metrics that these vendors are using. They're fairly complex. It's not really what most DBAs are familiar with. You know, they may put Oracle on a VMware virtual instance, and all of a sudden you're paying for all of those CPUs on that VMware cluster. Can be pretty astonishing cost-wise. So that will automatically show up here on a daily basis. And then, of course, we have the same for IBM products. So here we have IBM. Oops, sorry. Let me show the IBM instances first. So this basically shows a series of IBM products. This, again, like the Oracle and Microsoft, is automatically discovered on a daily basis, and we can see here this is a physical host running these virtual machines, and on IBM's instance case, it's calculated both for full capacity and subcapacity, and you can click through and see the details of how that was discovered. And then, of course, we link that to the IBM purchased versus installed, and we see here basically these are the 3 IBM products. versions because you're allowed upgrade and downgrade rights, if you will. License required, and again, purchased what was required for PVUs, IBM's license metric. So PVUs for full capacity, PVUs for subcapacity, and obviously you want to be qualified for subcapacity because in all these instances it's a lot less. And then the difference between over and under. Let me show you one other case where analytics is sort of very interesting, and that is with usage. So if you go to the basic cloud and desktop software, let's take a look and think about, gee, we may have a lot of project or Visio, for example, that's not really part of Office. And those products, are additional cost products. Why not, if somebody needs another copy, why not move it from somebody who hasn't been using it? But how do you find out who hasn't been using it? Well, we have some magic here in Belarc. So let's take a look here and look at, why don't we pick Visio? So we'll pick Visio and Visio for Office 365. So we'll pick both of those. And then let's take a look and say, gee, show me all of those that haven't been used in 6 months. And that's by machines because that's the way they're licensed. So these are all the Visios and Visio for Office that have not been used in the last 6 months. And gee, which machines are those actually running on? So we can click here and say, gee, these are the machines that actually don't have Visio, and show me the users. These are the users. Bingo. So it's really that simple in analytics, where that gives you the power to be able to do these kinds of things. And of course, this is on the instances report. We, of course, also on the cloud and desktop have the ability to compare that to your purchase records. So this is a cloud and desktop purchased versus installed. We've got a bunch of products here. There's some Adobe, Belarc even, some Esri, a lot of Microsoft products. And of course, you can limit this to just, whatever company you want to pick. So if you want to just take a look at Microsoft, your Microsoft cloud and desktop position, bingo, here we go. So that's really it in a nutshell. There's more we can show you, but I wanted to remind you of the power of analytics by having good automated data discovery is key to this entire process. And if I can just pop up this slide one more time, being able to have excellent discovery and all of this integrated allows you to automate this process largely. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to decide, in analytics, what you're still going to be looking for, what you're going to do, what your decisions are. But by having good data and putting it into a powerful analytics engine, that gives you the tools to help make those decisions better. So that's the end of our short and sweet webinar today. We welcome your questions. If anyone would like to raise your hand, we can unmute you and you can ask your question live. Otherwise, we will look forward to having you join us on another webinar. And feel free to contact us if you would like copies of the slides. Please send an email to info@belarc.com. So thank you all, and we will look forward to seeing you at a future date. Cheers.